Okay, here we go. On with the next course in our PKS the Hard Way series, which walks through the full manual installation, starting with, we don't do a vCenter installation, so we start with a pre-built vCenter installation, and we come into that existing vCenter environment to do the NSXT manual installation, configuring of NSXT prerequisites to prepare it for the PKS installation. Then we go through, we broke the PKS installation into two parts here. And then we'll go through and we've done all of these videos, these first 4 videos so far. So if you're just seeing this video and you're interested in these others, check out the PKS-Ninja-Labs channel on YouTube, and you should see these other videos in the series. Right now we're going to do the harbor tile install, and there's actually one more that belongs here I'll add here shortly, which is deploying your first cluster. So we already have a lab guide there for it, but I just need to add it here to this course guide so it's exposed. But for now we'll do harbor tile install, and then next we'll come back with that deploying your first cluster and really getting the login to PKS and starting getting the fun part. So let's jump in. And actually, before I go there, let's again review how I got to this page. So CNA Tech PKS Ninja homepage, where you can we have a getting started guide and information about how to get access to lab environments. Make sure you switch over to the PKS 1.4 branch, and then we'll go to courses, and we have PKS the Hard Way right here. And here we are, and now we can click through to our harbor tile install lab guide. And now I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my RDP session and move this to a different monitor. And we're going to start here, just like we did with the PKS tile installation. We're going to install Harbor as a tile in Ops Manager and let Bosch deploy and manage our Harbor instance. And let's see, do I have the Harbor bits here? Maybe I do not have the Harbor bits here, so hang on just a second. Okay, so it looks like I forgot to keep the Harbor bits installed here, but that's no problem. We'll just need to go out and download those bits. You don't need any particular special permissions or licensing to be able to download the bits. You may need to create an account on PivNet. But one thing I do need to mention first is, and this will depend on when you're watching this video, as of right now, the releases of templates that we had before these versions that you see on the screen have a couple bugs, including an internet access bug. And so if you're on, for example, baseline 0.5 right now, there's no problem, but you will need to patch, to run a little simple patch to be able to fix the internet access problem, and then you should be able to just proceed with this no problem. At the time I'm recording this video, these newer templates, these are done, but it's a complex process to get them transferred out to the org, to the OneCloud orgs where people can access them. So hopefully, these new templates will be ready within days, and you won't have to worry about patching this. But it's a process that only takes a few minutes. You can go here. Probably the easiest way to find it, we can just go straight from our PKS Ninja repo. Let me just go straight to the home page. We can go to issues, and we can go to labels, and let's say if you're using the baseline 0.5 template, right, and it's going to show you, let's see, which environment are we in here? It's going to show me right on the desktop. Oops, let me cancel that for now. Look at my desktop, that I'm on the baseline 0.5 template, right? I have access to the 0.6, but I wanted to run through it with the baseline 0.5 just to show, there's not, you can get through this without much effort on the 0.5, and it'll be even easier on 0.6 once it's out there. So let's go ahead and, where was I? 1 second here. So now if we're on this baseline 0.5 template, again we go to issues, click on labels, and then we can see everything that has already been labeled to apply to this template. And same thing could be true if you're on NSXT Ready 0.3. If your template is applied, you should be able to see it here. or even if there's bugs that aren't even there, we don't know about yet at the time of writing, right, you can come click on the labels thing here under issues and easily see which bugs that might apply to problems that you're having, and also you can see things like there's workarounds, a patch is ready, and we can see here that this is the one multiple of the templates have internet access problems, right? And so we can click on here, and right here at the top here, here's the workaround. This workaround does direct to a site you have to be a VMware employee to see, because there are some details in this workaround that I don't want to post publicly. But if you're outside of VMware and you need to access the workaround, please contact me directly, and we'll make sure we get you through that. But again, it should be just a matter of days, hopefully before, or maybe any time now before the new templates are available in the portals and the various OneCloud environments. Okay, so now hang on just a second. I need to actually apply that patch to this environment myself, so I can go out and grab those harbor bits. But I don't want to include that in this video because, again, within a few days it won't be relevant for most of the audience. So I'll go record a separate video for that, for those it's relevant for, and then come back and finish this video once I've applied that patch. Okay, I'm back. I've actually gone ahead and patched my environment for the internet access problem, and hopefully, by the time you're watching this video, you'll have be on a template that's not impacted. But if you are, again, you can come look at issue number 507 here and follow the instructions for a quick workaround to get your internet access working again. So now we'll go in and we'll go back into our RDP session here, and you can see my internet's working. And so we'll go download Harbor. So we'll go to network.pivotal.io and just search for the Harbor registry here. And it does say for PCF, but it's actually works for PKS as well, either way. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and click download here. And you do have to join Pivotal Network to do that, but I think you can use really any email address. It's really a quick, simple process. You don't need any sort of special entitlement for this. And so I'll sign in as me here. And we'll go ahead and re-download this here. And I'll pause this while it's downloading. Okay, we can see I finished downloading the Harbor registry here, and I also went ahead and updated the lab instructions to make sure that if you're following through with this, the instructions in the lab guide should be accurate as well. So let's go ahead and now that we've done that, get back into Ops Manager, and we're going to go back to our importer product, and now we can see in our eDownloads directory we've got our Harbor container registry. Press open, and I'll pause this while we give that a few minutes to upload. Okay, we can see over here on the left hand side now that our Harbor registry is finished uploading, so we can click the plus button here, and now we have our tile, and we can click on the VMware Harbor registry tile here to go ahead and configure the settings. So that way we can have Bosch and OpsMan help deploy this for us. Following along with the lab guide, we are on step 1.4 here for the Assign AZs and Networks tab. So we're going to pick our singleton jobs in PKS Management 1, balance other jobs in PKS Management 1, and Network PKS Management. This is going to be where we place our Harbor registry virtual machine that backs this tile. Go ahead and save that, and now we'll go ahead and jump into the General tab, and oops, accidentally clicked over the certificate. The host name is harbor.corp.local, and this static IP address is interesting. So that's looks like a new one in this version of Harbor. I don't think this setting was here before. Hang on one second. And let me just remember here, what was that IP address? So we're going to ping harbor.corp.local, or just ping harbor. And we can see 1040.14.5, and that's actually our external netted IP address, but this is not the IP address we assign to the VM itself. So we're going to do 172.31.0.5, and we'll go ahead and click save, and then go ahead into our certificate. And here we're going to generate an RSA certificate for harbor.corp.local. We'll click generate. Okay. And let's see, then we click save. We actually have a certificate authority on the Windows control center here, but I haven't set that up yet in the lab, so for now this way works. And we'll go ahead and set our admin password to our standard VMware 1 bang. And now we'll go ahead and go to, let's see, the Claire settings tab. And we're on step 1.9 in the lab guide. We're going to set our updater interval to 1 here. And I believe if you set it to 0, it may not actually update Claire, in which case if you're trying to demonstrate harbor features, like vulnerability scanning specifically, right, it may not give you accurate information. So we'll go ahead and click save there. And finally, we'll go to this resource config tab here. And this defines what size the virtual machine is that gets deployed for Harbor. And we're going to make this a little bit smaller here in our space constrained lab environment. And let's see. And we'll go ahead and leave this at this large.disk here. And press save. Now we can go ahead and go back to our installation dashboard. And we can click on VMware Harbor Registry. Click on Review Pending Changes. And click on Apply Changes here. And this will go ahead and update everything that needs to be updated. One of the nice things about what Bosch does here is there are some interdependencies between between different tiles at times, and so when the developers who help prepare these tiles do that work, and we can deploy them as tiles, then Bosch takes care of the job of if there are dependencies or impacts on other running workloads here, it will redeploy or apply configuration updates as needed. Now, the next thing we're going to do, and we can actually leave Harbor updating here, and we're going to go ahead and set up our CLI VM, which is our Ubuntu jump box here in the lab. So usually when we're doing connection testing from Harbor, then we'll use CLI VM and a lot of the lab guides to be able to access a Harbor. And of course, being a Kubernetes focused environment, you'll also want to deploy containers from Harbor to your Kubernetes cluster, and that's going to be inherently part of the deployment here. Earlier when we were doing the Bosch configuration, there was a checkbox that we checked that said, include or sign all the certs that we create through this process through Ops Manager here with the OpsMan root certificate. And so they inherently trust each other, and whenever we use PKS and it instructs Bosch to build a Kubernetes cluster, they will inherently trust this Harbor registry, which is a really nice thing, because otherwise you create clusters, you've got to figure out how you're going to set that up on your Kubernetes worker nodes, or come up with your own automation to manage it. And so that's just a built-in aspect of the system. And so So we'll see on the lab guide page here, we're now down in the section Enable Harbor Client Secure Connections. So we have to click through here to get to that page. And now we're going to go ahead and walk through these steps. So I'm just going to follow the steps as we go. And so we're going to go and we can leave this tab open. We could open a duplicate tab, but it's actually really easy to get back to this spot. So if we go back to installation dashboard, like you see, while it's applying changes, you can show progress here. Or if it's finished applying changes and this banner is no longer here, you can go to the changelog to get you can see a nice list of all the deployments that you've done here. If you want to go back and review any of those log files for the deployment. So so now we'll go back into our VMware Harbor registry and go to the certificate tab. And we're going to copy our, the certificate here. We're actually going to save this in a particular spot in our CLI VM. And so we're going to, and these just use the default values where you need to have your certificate stored in particular file locations. Sorry, not on that. According to the standard Docker implementation. So we're going to go into Ubuntu CLI VM, log in with our standard VMware 1 bang password. Okay, I'm going to maximize this. And first thing we're going to do, and I'm just going to copy and paste this directly from step 1.3 so I don't have to type it in. Oops, and I forgot here. We're going to need some sudo permissions probably to update these files. So I'm just going to do a sudo su, and again, same password, VMware 1 bang, and that way I can cut and paste directly without having to worry about the sudo commands. So now I'll go ahead and paste those in again, and that makes the directory where we're supposed to save the certificate. I'll go back, since I just copied something else, copy this again, go back into my CLI VM, paste this here. Make sure I remove any trailing spaces. Control A to save the file, and then enter. I mean Control O, excuse me. And then we press Control X to close the file. And now we'll go ahead and proceed with some additional steps that we need to do. Is just standard things to set up the Docker client here. This is where we need to copy the cert to this file I just created here to enable TLS. And now we'll copy the file to both of those destination locations that we've created, so the cert's all in the right spot. And once that harbor, and now we need to do one last couple commands to restart our Docker, to update our certificates and restart our Docker service. And then we can go back and check on our harbor implementation. Oops. And sorry, I pressed the paste there 2 times, but both of the commands did go through. So now we can go back here, show progress, see where we're at on our harbor implementation, and looks like I'll go ahead and pause this for now. Once this is done, we'll come back and check and do a little harbor login command to make sure that our harbor installation went well. Okay, we're back, and we can see now that our changes have applied successfully. So that worked great for the deployment, and Harbor should be up and running. So now for the moment of truth, we'll go ahead and validate Harbor, and this is going to be the last stretch here. Right after we're done with this, we'll go ahead and install our first Kubernetes cluster using PKS. So let's go ahead in here and go to harbor.corp.local, and actually sometimes actually, you know what? I'm just going to click on this banner bar. Sometimes our DNS will forward the request to external DNS resolution if we don't actually type in the HTTP or HTTPS. So if that ever happens, just make sure you type in the full name. And of course, I didn't use I use self-signed certificates here, so we're gonna have to just bypass the little warning here. And we see our harbor, awesome, and we can sign in and VMware 1 bang. Log in, and Harbor implementation is complete. And now, just to round the bases, let me close my OpsMan session there. around the bases, we'll go into CLI VM, where we have our Docker client installed here, and we're going to see if we can do a Docker login. And this should only work if you've if you were what we did in just a minute ago, installing the local certificate from the Harbor server is valid, and that's a standard for container registry servers. It's not specific to Harbor. So here we're going to say not just Docker login, but we want to log in specifically to harbor.corp.local and hit enter. And we're going to go admin and that VMware one bang password. Login succeeded. Great. And we also have several other Harbor labs. I think you can, in a lot of the different lab guides, utilize Harbor on the PKS Ninja GitHub repository. So if you'd like to play around with Harbor, keep doing more lab guides, and there's lots of opportunities on the site. So thanks for joining. That completes our Harbor tile installation. And if you want to stick around and check the PKS-Ninja-Labs channel on YouTube for the next video, we will go ahead and deploy our first cluster. Thanks for joining.